like, what's going on? Tell me how you're feeling, and helping them identify those feelings. Because especially with little kids, they just know they have big feelings. They don't know what they are. They don't have a name to put with it. And being able to do that and help them have those tools to explain what they're feeling, and put a finger on it. Like, okay, their stomach hurts. Does it actually hurt, or are they nervous about something? Are they experiencing anxiety? What is it that's going on? And in terms of, I mean, those who know me, like DRE posted the shirt, me and my shirt that says pizza rolls, not gender roles. Like, I am all about breaking barriers, all about living outside the box, not fitting in one realm. I've got something on my bookshelf that says I was not made to be subtle. That's just not who I am. Like, be who you are. And for so long, I've told other people, like, just be who you are. And I want that. And I want that for my kids. And I know that my parenting, okay, definitely gentle parenting, definitely really out there, but I still have expectations of my children. And I still will tell them, okay, try that again and see what happens. But I mean, and I'll tell them, like, the older one was screaming and crying about something earlier, and I'm like, listen, it's completely cool to cry about this, but the screaming, like, let's reserve screaming for if there's an emergency situation. Like, there are things, appropriate ways to do it, and I never want to, like, obviously we'll never tell my children how they should feel about something, because I never want to negate one's emotions, but the screaming has to stop in this scenario. We're in the car, for the love of God. But giving them those tools to deal with those things. And I don't know if my kids are going to be gay or anything. I have no idea. I leave weird things out in the open, like, well, okay, let me just tell this story, just to give you an idea of who I am as a person. At one point, the older one, this was like a year and a half ago, out of nowhere, he was high on butt and poop talk and stuff. Out of nowhere, he's like, can I put this hairbrush in your butt? And I was like, my response was, no, buddy, we don't put things in people's butt unless they ask us to. And then I was like, and he was like, wait, but we can if they ask us? And I'm like, you know what, at this age, we're not putting anything in anybody's butt for any reason. Like, we're just not going to do it. But that's like my mindset. Like, I don't want to shame him for his future, but at the same time, I don't want you putting anything in anyone's butt because you're 4 years old. I don't know. Anyway,
I'm sorry. I just had a field day with that one. I have not laughed that hard in a long time.
That's perfect because, you know, I was watching America's Next Top Model, and everybody knows Miss J, who is, you know, the dark-skinned, 6 foot something tall guy, and Lay's like, mine is that a boy or a girl? And I'm like, well, that is a boy, and his name is Miss J, and I had to go into explaining this to her, and I'm thinking, you know, like, I don't know if where this is gonna go. I haven't discussed this with Nick, like what we should say when these things come up. You know, I don't know, you know, and this is all new to me. But at the same token, it's just like, I also did not want to negate the fact that she's gonna learn these things, you know, and she knows differences. Okay, so I have gay cousins, I have a gay brother, I have gay friends, and everybody knows that I'm surrounded by a lot of gay people, especially gay men. And so then she starts to do this. She starts to, anytime she sees like someone on TV, she's like, oh, that reminds me of such and such. And I'm just like, so kids are smarter than we think. They know, you know? And so it's just like, to not, when these opportunities come up, that's what I mean. Like, you can't tell me that a white suburbia mom has not had an opportunity to teach her kids about Black kids, because now I feel like, or gay kids, or, you know, I don't know, like, are we that really sheltered still when there's all over the TV, you know, like,
it shouldn't
that's
be
bewildering to me.
Well, I think this, okay, so like I was talking about millennials earlier, right? And how it's different for them versus how it was for us. I think the advent of social media and the internet removed certain boundaries from the millennials, right? They're heavily involved in social media, they're gaming, they're doing all these kind of things or whatever. Which, and when I say boundaries, I mean like when we were children, we were restricted to what was in our community, what was in our household, what was in our neighborhoods, what was in our schools, right? They don't have those same types of restrictions anymore because the internet and social media allows them to connect to people all over the world.
Yeah.
They're doing it a little bit different, so it's a little bit different, from what we experience and stuff. And I think like I think it's good when you have the idea of talking to your kids when it comes up because they're precocious, they're curious, they notice all of these things. I think we do a disservice when we try to, when we try to like shield them for that. But the reason I wanted to say it that way is because I didn't realize how sheltered I was until I moved to Tampa 4 years ago. Like I had my family, everybody I knew, my circle, and I will admittedly tell you guys, I don't have a single white friend. Not a one. Not a one. Not trying.
Zandra, I have a lot of black friends that don't have any white friends. I have a lot of black female friends that will never date outside of their race. So I absolutely understand what you mean, that it goes both ways. Like, like black people also need to be exposed to other cultures, but I do feel like there's a level of, and I hate to use the word fear, but it's a level of fear of getting hurt. You know what I mean?
Let's talk about that for a quick second, because I'm real intentional about where I decided to live, where I decided to move, what school the boys would go to. Because now I went to Decatur High School 9th through 11th grade, where it was a good mix. It was probably like 50-50 white. Well, probably less than that because we had a lot of other cultures in there as well. But it was I would say pretty diverse or whatnot. However, and while I didn't feel like I experienced any clear cut racism there or whatnot, I know people who have been to predominantly white schools and have, right? And so my thing
say
is,
something really quick to add to that, really quick on perspective. My perspective of Decatur is completely different from yours.
I mean, I know racism was around, and I know people who went to Decatur who say, "Yeah, oh yeah, I felt it." But I guess for my bubble and where I associated myself with, and my friends that I surrounded myself with, I didn't have room for any of that.
Yeah.
Not on top of being naive or ignorant to everything else, right?
Yeah.
But my thing is, I would never want to put my boys in a situation where they're already minority, obviously, because they're black, but where they're the minority, right, in the school, and where they face that racism, right? And so I did decide to move to a predominantly black neighborhood with predominantly black schools, right? And so, but there's a fine line in me. Like I was torn between, even now when I think about jobs that I may or may take or whatnot, and if it might require me to move again, and I'm thinking about, where would I have to move? I'm like, would I really want to? Because yeah, the school system may be better, but what are my boys going to go through if they go through those schools?
That's such a good point. Oh my God. That's deep.
Mm-hmm. It is.
And that's actually something that I wanted a little while ago when we were talking about like the way that black kids are raised differently from white kids. And a lot of things about, like, especially like with black boys, when they're told, to sit down and shut up and don't ask questions. A lot of that is rooted in protection.
Yes. Yes.
Because the thing is that we always want kids to be able to express themselves and everything, but what does sadness look like to a teacher when it's a black kid versus a white kid? And that's something that is a very real issue with black kids. So much of the time, they're just written off, okay, you're a behavior problem. So you go there,
Yep.
you know, and it's like, so they teach, and even with the angry Black woman, um, for so long, there were things that would happen to me and things that people would say to me that I would think, wait a minute, well, you know, but I would stop myself because I don't want people to think that I'm that girl.
Yes.
What girl? Like what
The
girl? What do
angry
you mean?
Black woman.
I'm that angry
Okay.
woman.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
So,
Yeah.
but that is one of the things that, like, just visually seeing how that angry Black girl is treated differently, how she's
Right.
ostracized.
Yep.
Yep.
And it's like that's one of the things that, like, and so it's really important when you think about where you send your kids. Well, yeah, that's very important. You want them to be exposed to as much as possible, but at the same time, is that exposure putting them in danger? And that's something that Black
Is it worth the emotional toll that they'll go through?
exactly
Probably not.
and will carry,
Probably not.
yeah, for the rest of their lives.
Yep.
You know, and
I
that's
just keep telling myself, I'm like, for the majority of my school, besides Decatur High School, obviously, I went to predominantly Black schools. I graduated from a predominantly Black school.
Mhm.
I turned out just fine. You know what? Like, I keep reminding myself, like, I'm fine. Like, there's nothing wrong with these schools. Yes, I wish some of the programs that these predominantly white schools have were in my neighborhood, but let me be the advocate and let me try to fight for that change in my community, opposed to moving away from my community
exactly,
to send my boys, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
I have made absolutely. This is probably gonna be sad, but I'm gonna say it anyway because I feel like it's important to be truthful and to be honest, and you know the conversations can't continue or improve if we don't be honest, right? I have made absolutely no efforts to conform to a damn thing. And I don't know if that has anything to do with like my upbringing, my dad, or you know, whatever. But like I just wasn't raised that way. I guess the way that I can describe myself is like most people say I'm pretty militant. Very super opinionated and outspoken, and I'll say it and you know call it what it is or whatever you see. Y'all, some of y'all will see my Facebook post. I've been on a roll lately. And so I just don't believe in like conformity. I think one of the issues that one of the reasons why we have some of the issues that we have and that we're experiencing right now is because we've been forced as a community, you know, to conform to everybody else's idea of what should be safe and acceptable for us. And so for me, I've always been, you know, like the person who would go into the job and I'm gonna make you find a space for me. And that's what it is. And I know that's like a thing that's easier said than done for most people because it doesn't fit some people's personalities, right? And all of those and comfort zones or whatever. But like I've just like and that's to the point of like not having any white friends. Again, it's not like I didn't grow up around white people or I'm uncomfortable. As you can see, I'm not. I just think like and you guys, I would love to hear your opinions about this for sure. I just find it difficult to connect with white people.
Yeah.
And I don't know why that is. I don't like it's not like again, I went to a predominantly white gym. I got along just fine with most people in there, but they weren't my friends. We didn't hang out, we didn't really talk outside of work, you know, none of those relationships, none of those relationships were anything that stuck, you know, or anything. I don't know what it is, but like me, I am a person like I don't know which one of you guys was on the call that said like I love people, I love connecting with people and talking to people and or something like that and touching people and how you feel. I am super that person too. It's just that for some reason though, I have a difficult time connecting with white women. I don't know why.
I think I made some pretty solid connections with
Sorry,
some.
before you continue, I just want to let Janet go because she said that she had to go. So I just want her to be able to say farewell really quick.
Yes, thank you so much. I want to be a part of this conversation. I really would love to. Before I go, I'm also going to say that connecting with white women is challenging. I have other things that I have to say about the matter. But I don't blame you. That's all I'm gonna say.
Well, part 2 then. On the next call, we definitely should talk about it. So
Yep.
how do we
Don't blame you. Thank you guys so much. I really appreciate it. Sorry I was in and out and everything.
Before you go, I wanted to ask you specifically a question because I know how it makes me feel on the flip side of things. But we used to joke with Janet all the time and say, Janet, you have black assets because Janet, you can't see her bottom half, but Janet has
don't.
yes. Nice booty, okay. And we would say this, and now thinking about this and becoming more aware of what people say to me, I'm like, did that ever make you feel like any type of
good
way?
question.
Good one. I always took it as a huge compliment. Growing up, I didn't like that I was white. The majority of my friends growing up, were black. I wanted to be like my friends. And honestly, even then, like when you guys would joke about that, the women that I found the most beautiful in my life were black women. And so it was something that I always thought was a huge compliment. Honestly, my ass is one of the few things that I have continued to have confidence in about my body. So I can thank you guys for that. So not once did I ever take any offense to it. I mean, I know that, especially with your family, like I just think back to one picture in particular with you and me and Darice and Donna lined up and you guys joking about me being one of the sisters and feeling like I belonged. And I know, so that definitely never once fazed me in the least. I appreciate it. I love you guys too.
I love you.
Have a good night. All right, bye.
Nice meeting you.
You too.
All right, so go ahead and say what you were gonna say, Doris. I'm sorry for cutting you off.
I have to remember. Go ahead if somebody else can go.
I wanted to ask, oh gosh, what's her name?
Rashawn, Jenna, Trinette.
Is she there? Is she still there?
I don't know where she went.
She still is. She just muted and her screen is off.
Oh. Sandra? Maybe her phone fell off the balcony.
Was she on the balcony?
She was on her balcony.
Oh no.
Oh, well, I was gonna say that I feel like I made some pretty solid connections with some white women. And yeah, I'll leave it at that. But I don't know. I just feel like the connection, I think it goes back to you having that guard up, obviously, because sometimes you don't know people's intentions. And because, like I said, we've experienced this our whole lives. Like sometimes it's just like, okay, what do you really think about me? You know what I'm saying? Like, what is your perception really of me? And then once we start breaking down those barriers and see each other for who we are, then that's when the connection can be formed.
Yeah. On both ends, I feel like it's definitely a relatability thing sometimes. Like I've always had white friends. I've always been close to friends. Hang on one second, baby's calling. I'll be right back. 2 seconds.
Well, I'll jump in. I have always had very superficial connections with white women. It has always felt, I've always felt, like in the back of my mind, just, I would always think to myself that eventually she's going to do something or say something. It's like at some point, like, I'm going to be like, oh, you're one of those white women, and so it's always, what? I don't understand. But like, it's that fear. I mean, I've seen and heard terrible things. Like, I like internet, just like on the internet, people will stop talking to you when they find out that you're black.
Man.
It's very difficult to want to open yourself up to that.
Mhm.
So it's just kind of like, yeah, I can definitely understand that. To be perfectly honest, a lot of my connections, I'm a very reserved person, but yeah, especially with white women, it's been very superficial, and it's very hard to get past that.
It's understandable.
Yeah. I think for me, I've had such a different experience. I also think, from high school, it started from high school, really. Well, no, middle school was very diverse. We had a lot of different nationalities. I went to Sequoia Middle, but then high school for me was different because I didn't feel like how you felt like it was diverse. I didn't feel like that. I mean, I was in a lot of AP classes. Literally, it was like maybe two or three of us. I remember two or three Black people in classes where I didn't feel like it was, 50-50 white and Black people at Decatur. And then
The school as a whole, I felt like that. I've had several classes where I was the only Black or one of two
Yeah.
Black kids in the class too.
So essentially, that's how me and Janet became friends. It was like I hung out with the people I had classes with. And when I tell you we migrated from classroom to classroom and all had the same classes, so I was with these people all day. And so it was just like, did I not have Black friends in high school? Yeah, I did. But it was also a lot of biracial girls that went to Decatur that I do remember thinking like, I've never been around this many biracial girls in my life, and so it was like I had to combat with, like being with myself almost. But I did develop a lot of friendships in high school and then after high school with white women. It wasn't until I started working in Alpharetta did I really take a step back and say, okay, when am I the angry Black woman, or when am I a sellout? And that's for me because there's been times, and Trinity knows because I've talked to her several times about it, where I've had clients say things like, "Oh, did you watch Grey's Anatomy? I can't believe they would put a Black doctor. What's the Black doctor? The guy?
Whoever.
No, the other one, the really dark one, the beautiful. I can't think of his name, but he's not on there anymore. He was beautiful. He's super dark skinned. He dated the Asian girl.
Oh, I know who you're talking
Yeah,
about.
so anyway, so she was talking about him, right? And she was like, I can't believe that they would make this Black guy a doctor on Grey's Anatomy. That would never happen in real life. I was like, oh, really?
See, but my thing is, are you calling it out? Or are you just taking it and moving on?
See,
Yeah. What are you doing with it?
Yeah, that's the thing. And so this being my client, what do I do with it? Do I say, you know what, I beg, and I would tell them, I beg to differ, yada, yada, yada. I remember one time this lady, the same lady specifically said, where I grew up, there were no Black fathers. They abandoned all their kids. You remember that, Trinette? You remember that? I had to correct you. Like, hey,
you would not respond to that. Like, that's I have a lot of white friends. They eat pots.
Trinette, we can't hear you.
They eat pots. You can't hear me?
Now I can hear you.
Now?
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a lot of white friends. And maybe because of my personality and, just who I am. They're just drawn to me, I guess. But I wouldn't stand for the crap that you accept when they say stuff like that. I would come back immediately. Like I don't take that crap from nobody.
Right. Agreed.
You could say I'm a Black woman. I don't care.
Yeah,
Right.
I did correct her and I said, well, I have a Black father and he didn't abandon us, and Black brothers and they didn't abandon their kids. I did tell her that, but at the same token, it's just like, to me now moving forward, this is awkward. I want to not be in this situation with you. Like, I don't want to train you, but I also know that if I quit everybody that offended, I might not be in business anymore either.
No, you don't quit them, but you correct them, and if they quit you, you have to be okay with it. Just like John, what's his name? John Bezos or whatever it is, the founder of Amazon or whatever. He went and tweeted all
Oh,
the
I saw that.
nasty emails that he was getting because he posted in support of Black Lives Matter, and people were calling him all types of nasty things, saying really nasty things to him, saying, I can't believe you would stand for this, and because you are, I'll never spend my money on Amazon, and I'm pretty sure other people's gonna stop too. And he's, even though he's a billionaire and he can walk away, he can stand to lose a couple of customers. But I mean, we have to be like this even when we're not billionaires. And he's like, listen, you're a customer I don't want to have.
Yeah. Oh, trust me. I mean, I completely agree. I've been faced with conversations about people hating Obama, and I'm just like, okay, well, why are you telling me this? You know, you in one aspect, I've had what clients tell me how much they hate Obama, and then where I feel like it's a level of disrespect, but then always combat it with, but we should respect Trump, and I'm just like, well, I don't know. In these conversations, I just really don't want to have the conversation with you. So in that sense, I just feel like I'm not gonna say anything. I'm like,
when it comes down to politics, yeah, I would say that. Now, can I say people that say they hate Obama, some of them are racist? Absolutely, but but when it comes down to politics, like when it's politics, listen, I don't care to have this conversation with you. Politics, religion, I don't care to have this conversation with you. But if you're talking about racism, straight out racism, listen, I have to correct you.
Yep. Oh yeah, absolutely, I agree.
I mean, I agree completely. I agree absolutely completely. Let me go to my my speed lightning round is a little bit lighter. So quarantine with teens or preteens, how have y'all been feeling?
They eat everything.
I'm actually good because Lauren has a job, so she goes to her job. But like initially, I was like on edge because I was just like, no, don't go out there, don't. You know what I mean? Like, stay in with me, stay safe, stay here. You know, you have that overwhelming urge to like protect them because like they're kind of naive and they think like everything goes somehow. Right? Think that everything is like a joke and not that serious. I'm like, you have a mask on, what's going on? Like, all of it. So, but I'm on edge. I work from home anyway. So I was just used to being at home. But what I wasn't used to is being shut in. That's the word that seems to be a recurring theme for me, is to shut in now. So now I'm at home, but I can't go to my gym anymore. I can't, I'm not doing my personal, like starting to open up now. I mean, like initially, right? And so that's what I was feeling. I was just like, I miss people. And the first thing I thought about, like, Ari would confirm this. I sent her a message probably about a month or so. So we're not going to St. Augustine this year.
Even though St. Augustine seems like they're doing a beautifully job at social distancing, but yeah, no. I mean, it's a sad factor. So that leads me to my next question, which is, do you guys how are you guys feeling about things opening back up and just moving forward? Like,
I think it's a mistake.
I do too.
Yeah,
not ready.
we'll see how things go. We've still been in the house. I mean, we did go to my father-in-law's house, but he's been pretty much at home. But that's the only, and we just did that like last weekend or whatnot. But as far as like we haven't been out or visiting or anything since like March, whenever all of this started or whatnot. But yeah, I think we'll just wait and see. I'm nervous to see what's going to happen when school comes around.
Yeah.
Henry County has put out something though that made me feel a little bit better, but they're not, because they're saying basically that the parents have a choice. We can send the kids to school, or we can opt in to do like a virtual learning day, which would be full time on the computer, virtual, like different from the remote learning that they were doing in March or whatnot. Which scares me a little bit because I'm like, okay, there's only but so many computers in the house. That's one. And then two, when I do start working, like I'm not going to be home to supervise, make sure they get on these computers and do their work throughout the day, so I don't know. We'll just see.
How are we coping with the anxieties of all of this? With not
Oh my
just
God.
the coronavirus, but with the whole movement that's happening now, and people not really. I don't know. I don't feel like they're considering that this pandemic is still happening while
Mm-hmm.
you know out there, protesting and doing, what they're doing.
I feel like in general, I think the best word to describe what I feel about all of it, the pandemic and the movement, is skepticism. Right. And I say that because like in one sense I'm like, okay, so let's start with the virus, right? In one sense I'm like, okay, y'all are opening this stuff up way too soon. I'm gonna hang back and let y'all do that and figure that out, and I'm gonna see what happens, and then I'll come out and do my thing, right? That was my position about that or whatever. I just think that people's or corporate greed, government greed is what's leading them to make these decisions. And to some level, I understand it, especially when you're talking about small business and getting that stuff back up and running. But I think we pay a shit ton of money and taxes and all of these things that the government should be doing a better job taking care of our small business owners, taking care of our people that don't make a certain amount of money. Just because I'm sitting over here, good, and there was no change to me in my life, just that, doesn't mean that other people aren't impacted and affected and need help. So that's what I feel about the virus. In terms of the movement, the skepticism for me is like, I feel like a lot of some of the things that people are doing now, they should have been doing the whole time. Like, it shouldn't have taken such an extreme thing for people to recognize that the things that we share, our experiences are valid and real. The things that we experience in corporate America, they're real. All of that stuff is real. Why did a man have to die? Let's take it a step back. Why did you have to see a video of an officer kneeling on somebody's neck and treating this person less than human, and then that man having to die to get you to realize that we were saying these things all along? Why? It shouldn't have taken all of that. And if we were better people as a society, it wouldn't have taken all of that. So that's why I said I'm skeptical. But again, I'm also militant, opinionated, and pissed off. So filter that through whatever you want to filter it through.
Yeah.
I agree, Zandra.
Yeah, I agree with the whole thing with the small businesses too. They've literally cut the legs from a lot of people. I've watched several yoga studios now close, several small businesses close up because they can't, afford to stay open. In my personal situation, it's like, what I've experienced now, it's like virtual learning for the little yogis is, trying. It's like really starting a whole new business all over again. And now I have 2 kids and now I'm home with them, stuck in the house all day trying to rebrand an entire business. And so virtual learning has been a struggle, but we've been sticking with it. And now we're faced with, hey, we probably won't be able to go back into schools come August. They're not letting vendors come back in. They're not thinking about extracurricular. So that's cutting the legs. Luckily, we are one of the few that can do virtual learning. A lot of the soccer teams and, all the stuff that do, they can't do virtual learning. So they're cutting the legs from underneath a lot of businesses that feed, their families. And that's, it's just an unfortunate situation, with how everything's going. I don't know, and I think my anxieties around that are, up and down. I'm just like, okay, one moment I feel really confident that, things will progress how they need. And then the next moment I'm kind of pulling my hair out like, well, I got to come up with a plan. And so, it is what it is right now. So my next question would be another funny one, lightning round to wrap it up. Especially for, this could apply to everyone. What if you got pregnant right now?
Yeah, that would be the touch of God right about now.
Right?
So I would be like, you can just call me Saint Zandra, similar to Saint Mary or something.
You know,
That's what that would.
that would
That
raise
would be.
so many more questions.
Okay. If you could do something over with in how you've been raising your child, not that it's too late for anybody, but if you could do something over, what would it be? More so pertaining to your children.
I would work on my self-regulation right on the beginning. My kids have endured a lot of my anger, a lot of my yelling, a lot of my frustration, and I wish I had some tools sooner.
Yeah, I feel the same. I feel like my patience has kind of worn a little thin, and I'm like, who is this person? I do not like, and then especially not even like me seeing who I'm becoming or who I am, but having Leanna regurgitate it. Oh no, that's just mommy. She's so tired. Oh no, that's just mommy. She's just working. That's just how she is when she's working. Oh no, that's mommy because she's just busy doing this. And I'm like, ugh, I don't like that. I don't want you to see me like that. That's not who mommy is. Because behind the scenes, mommy is the one who's cooking you dinner, who's taking you out to have fun play dates, with sand and stuff and finding these adventures for you. And so at the same token, it's like, yeah, I'm doing all the fun stuff. And don't get me wrong, that's always
It's
get the
still
credit.
a lot of work.
It's still a lot of work. It's still a lot of work.
Yes.
I'm actually the opposite. Like I was, and maybe this is because like you guys have smaller children, and mine is like practically a young adult. But I found that I'm actually more patient now than I was when Lauren was little, and growing up. And so even like now with like having the boys here and stuff, I find myself being way more patient with them than I ever was. When Lauren and I were growing up. That's what I like to say. So, it's a little different. Yeah, when we were growing up, she was growing up and I was growing up too. So I find that it's very different for me now. Like when I had Lauren, I was in my like mid 20s maybe, and now I'm in my mid 40s, and so I'm a lot more patient, with that process. But also because I've been exposed to like a lot of people like you guys, right? Other parents, things that I've learned just throughout that 20-year time period of like it's okay to get help. It's okay to say I'm not okay. It's okay to say, I got questions. We all of us who are parents know that there is no manual, to parenthood. There's no manual out there. You got a lot of people that give you advice and a lot of books and all those kind of things. But the truth of the matter is every child is different. And so there's no manual to that parenthood process. So one of the things that I have adopted for myself, which we covered earlier in the conversation, is like a self-care plan. What do you do when your back is against the wall and you're ready to rip your hair out and you've lost patience or you've lost like not only just with your kids but with yourself? Yeah. Right? Because we are our own worst critics in all things that we do. And so we always are looking for ways, as human beings to connect, to be better, to learn something new, whatever that process needs to look like. But I feel like, again, like I said, I think the common thing for me is that I've learned to do it differently. The things that I felt like I didn't do exactly great for my daughter, I try to incorporate now into other things, right? More conversations, more hugs, more I love you, more let's spend time together, more like all of that. Like let's talk about that. How was your day at work? How was your day at school? Just those types of things. Like so.
Those are the things that make the biggest difference.
Yeah.
And taking the time to let go of all the frustrations of balancing all this stuff is I think everyone's biggest weakness, because without them, the world doesn't go round.
Yeah, Jenna, wasn't it you that said earlier, like you're more than a face, right? You're more than blonde, white. You're more than that, and I like to piggyback off of that. Yeah, I'm more than a Black person too. I'm a mom. I'm a sister. I'm an advocate. I'm a friend. I'm a business person with a business mind. I am so many other things. I also like to lift heavy weights and punch stuff. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm all of these different things. And so trying to find that balance, but also trying to find people that understand it, understand that you're more than just that one thing. I'm more than a snapshot of somebody else's impression of me in that moment in time.
Especially with what's going on right now. I mean, I'm I get it. And I saw a video of this black guy with dreads, and he was like, I'm a writer, I'm a poet, I'm a father, I'm saying all these things. And he's like, so I wanted you to get to know me first before you judged me for being black. Like, it's so, I get it. It's like, I get it, but I don't, I get it because I watch it and I see it, and everyone is judged right off the bat from ching ching.
Right off the bat.
Yep.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and let's face it, like, we all do it. We all have, there's a difference between prejudice, stereotypes, and racism. All three of those things are completely different. We all have prejudices, right? Those are things that are ingrained in us based on our experiences, based on living on this planet, based on who we are, all of those things. Like, we all have prejudices. Like, it's like me looking at you right now, and when you first joined and everything, I was like, okay. I may have had some thoughts. I don't know. Like, I'm just, getting owning it and all that stuff. But, and then, stereotypes is, again, things that people think about, a group of people, a culture, or something like that. It's also a very normal thing. It's normal to stereotype. What's not normal is racism and how you respond, or basing somebody's character or value on those prejudices, those stereotypes, that racist mindset, right? And then the other part of it that comes with racism is, the whole thing about the inferiority, right, and superiority process about it. And so those things are not normal by no stretch of the imagination. But I think what makes us, define who we are is how we let that affect and impact our relationships as we're interacting with other people. That's, like, my thoughts on that.
I would take what you said just one step further with stereotypes. I think we've normalized them,
Yes.
but that don't make them right.
Yeah.
Right. Yes. Love that. Yep.
Acceptance. It's almost like it's become so common that we've accepted it, and I'm just like, how did it get to that point? But,
and I'm guilty. Just like she said, everybody's guilty of it. I'm guilty of it. I'm, for example, and I know you guys are not nurses or midwives or whatnot, but there's a thing in the labor and delivery world. Oh, this Hispanic patient is gonna come in and blow out a baby because that's what they do. You know what I'm saying? Like, they come in and those women know how to have a baby. They come in and it's quick and it's, I'm just, but that's not always the case, and we shouldn't be like that. Or I could think of, and all of my examples lead back to like nursing and in the hospital or whatnot. But I could think of so many different examples where I've literally had to catch myself and like, Darius, but that's not the situation. Like, you can't say that because she's Hispanic, or you can't say that because she's this and this. Like, no, what's going on?
Do you act on it though, or do you just is it just a thought in your head, or like in comments with people that are like your friends or people you're close with? Do you act on it? Do you comment on it, or is this, again, just like a thought process for you?
Sometimes it is acted on though. Sometimes.
Yeah. Me too. And I think that may be why I don't have like the best connections with people, like outside of like Black women and stuff, because I have those and I make assumptions, right? I make assumptions that this person doesn't want to be friends with me, or this person is different, or I automatically assume and make myself uncomfortable. Like, I'm not gonna fit here. They're not gonna understand me.
That's negative self-talk.
I do a lot of that too. I do a lot of that too.
I do that a lot with Indian people. I literally feel like sometimes I will make myself uncomfortable and say, like, they think they're the better Black.
Ooh. What's the better Black, girl?
No, girl, I don't know.
Indians are the better Black. Okay.
Yeah. I have no idea.
I understand. Oddly, I understand where you're going with that.
You do? Explain, please. The rest of us are suffering. I don't know what y'all about.
It's just like, and maybe you guys will understand this better, but it's just like African, like people who are truly African coming over here, and they saying, the whole thing, like for instance, somebody was, we hear it all the time. Why don't you guys go back to Africa or whatever, whatever. Guess what? The Africans don't want us over there because we're not them. They think they're better than us too.
Right.
They're the better blacks.
Okay, I get it. I get it. We're just lost. We ain't got no place. We ain't got no home. It's almost like we're home. We ain't got no home.
Oh, nowhere.
No, but in all honesty, like I remember, when especially when I was pregnant, and after Leanna was born, she didn't have any hair, and so a lot of my Indian wives were like, "You need to rub this on her head. You need to do this. You need to do that." And I was thinking to myself, I was like, "But her hair is still not going to grow in like what you're used to, And so it's just like when they would say that, I would almost feel uncomfortable, like, well, I think you understand, like, my baby's not gonna have the same kind of hair your babies have, So it's just like, and it feels like me making my own self uncomfortable instead of just accepting their advice and saying they're looking at me, obviously, as just another mother,
No, Diari. How about I am not my hair? Like, no. What's wrong? She's a little kid, a baby. Like, what difference does it make?
That goes back to. I won't say it. Never mind.
No, you gotta say it.
No. No. It's nothing. I'm just saying, people pick up on people's insecurities. Let me just say it like that. Okay. So what I may be insecure about, somebody may pick up and start trying to offer me advice on it. And I'm like, really, I don't want your advice. Like, you giving me advice is making me more uncomfortable because you're acknowledging my insecurity. I don't want it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I understand that. Okay, last 3 questions, and I'm just gonna just shoot them out there really quickly. You can answer them in whatever order you want to answer them in. Hang on. Biggest fear, current life projects, and what is offer of your remedy to life? Like, tell me what your remedy is to, to really choose happiness for yourself.
Biggest fear. I guess I'll start. If you guys don't mind. Biggest fear, failure. My biggest fear is a failure. I also have a slight fear of death. Which is kind of creepy and morbid, but it's true. I don't want to die. But yeah, but the biggest fear is definitely failure. Failure as a mom, failure as a sister. Not being successful in any kind of way. I think I carry that a lot too. By successful, I mean whatever idea I put on to that success, right? Whatever bulleted list it is. So if it's like being successful at work, fear of failure there, yeah. Fear of never meeting anybody and getting married and finding my life partner and all that stuff. But yeah. So those are my fears. What was the other question?
What are your current life projects if you're doing any
Girl, my whole life's a project. Right now, I got 2 boys, 5 and 9.
That's a great one.
So that's my project right now, to get them acclimated and settled into this home and being a part of it. And getting them set up on routines because I'm that routine person and figuring all that stuff out and fostering stuff. So that's my project right now. And then your third question was, what are life remedies? Day by day, give myself a break. Say that one of my coaches says this to me all the time, and he says, like, catch a beat, right? That's his thing. And what he's saying by that is like, when you're feeling overwhelmed in the gym and you're putting all this pressure on yourself to get everything exactly right, to follow this meal plan, to do whatever, like, catch a beat, give yourself a break. There's another saying that goes, if you shoot for the stars and you hit the moon, you'll land exactly where you want to be, right? You'll end up exactly where you're supposed to be, which means like you always strive for something that's a little bit beyond your reach. And if you get even halfway to that particular goal, you're landing exactly where you want to be. And so that's my life remedy about most things. Just, take it day by day, give myself a break, and understanding that I don't have to be perfect. I don't have to get it exactly right all the time. And, let myself be okay telling people that I'm not okay.
I'll go next. So my biggest fear is leaving this earth while my boys are not prepared.
Mine.
And that's prepared for life. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like I'm gonna just leave it there because I think you guys get me. So I'm gonna leave it there. I don't have to go any further because even just talking about it gives me anxiety.
That's so good though. Oh, Therese, that's a good one. Oh, that's a good one.
My current life project. Go ahead.
I feel like I just think that no one can raise my girls the way I need them to do it.
Yeah.
And I just want to be, I mean, I pray every night that I'm around to, I think it's such a blessing that we have our mom and I am 30 something years old. That is a blessing, especially in the Black community. Like, I really want to be around when they're having kids and stuff. So it's like, and it's not a selfish I want to be around. It's like you said, I really want them to be prepared. Like, I really want to be able to give them that advice. And if I could have my dad, Bill, if I could have him around to just have his advice right now, to just hear his thoughts on this movement, to just, hear his thoughts on, being quarantined and just to keep me calm. Like, he was like a calm factor. Like, I would give anything for that. And I feel like he just left too soon. I look up days and I'm like, I need that. I need it. And I just don't want my girls to go without that.
I feel like, and I'm glad you brought this up. I'm just the only thing I'm gonna say about it. I'm moving on to the next question. I promise, because I don't want to cry. I already feel like tears are welling up. So, like she said, I feel like our dad left entirely too soon. I feel like I was at a point in my life where I was really just learning how to be an adult. So he missed out on all of my important life events.
Yeah.
And I always look around like my husband proposed to me 3 days before my dad passed away. And I remember thinking, who's going to walk me down the aisle now? He didn't get to walk me down the aisle. I didn't have a father-daughter dance at my wedding. He did my firstborn, but he doesn't know my youngest two. He has not seen me working in my field. He has not seen me be successful. He has not seen me buy my house. You know what I'm saying? Like, all of these big life events that I would want to share with him, he wasn't here for. And I know how I felt, just like Diara was saying, she felt like he just left entirely too soon. I know how I feel every time I think about him, and every time I'm like, God, and if I could just, I'm at a point in my life where I'm so much older and where I understand what having a deeper relationship with your parents mean now. And I can't pick up the phone and have those real life conversations with you. Whereas when you were here, I was talking about nonsense. I mean, I thank God that I was able to talk about nonsense with you, but it wasn't anything. It wasn't the important stuff that I wanted to get from you, And I want to be able to give that to my boys. So that's it. Sorry, that's it.
That is good. That is so good. Yeah. Oh, I'm so glad you shared that.
My current life project. I like what Sandra said. My whole life is a project. I just keep going. I accomplish one thing and I look to accomplish the next. So I guess right now what I'm mainly focused on is getting my job as a midwife. So I can start doing the good work, as one of my professors said when I graduated. He said go and do some good work, and that's what I want to do. And then life remedy. It took
but which we need to have a panel on women in the healthcare and the issues with that alone, because there's so much within healthcare, within the Black community, within, there's so much fear, there's so much that people don't realize when you're having a child, that going into, the operating room, like it's just it's a heavy, very heavy situation where, especially when you're pregnant, the anxieties you already have with just having a child, but on top of that, being a Black woman is unbelievable. But anyways, we'll have to discuss that another night. But go ahead.
And then my life remedies, everything calm, in order, and with love. It took me, about 2 or 3 years ago now, 2 or 3 years ago, I left. I told you guys I was a travel nurse, and I took my first, it wasn't my first travel assignment. It was my first out-of-state travel assignment. And I went to California. And so that meant I left my husband and my boys here. And for the first time ever, I've literally went from living with my parents and all my siblings, never being home alone, to living with my husband and my oldest child. Like, there was never a break of me ever living on my own. So I go out to California, I'm all by myself. I don't know anybody. I was renting a room from a girl. I was completely on my own. And it took me having that experience to realize the lack of patience that I had. And so when I came home, I wanted to be a different person. And I'm so much more lax when it comes to my boys now. Do everything calmly, talk to them with love. Like, that's been one of the main things that I try to focus on. That's why I felt Jenna so much when you was talking about the parenting skills. Even talking to my husband, sometimes I have to reel him back in and say with love, because the moment you start yelling, they don't hear you any longer.
Yep.
Yeah.
That is super powerful.
And
Kudos.
so that's just everything, and that goes for everything when it comes to parenting, when it comes to being a friend, when it comes to being a sister, every facet of life, everything calm, in order, and with love.
I like it.
Yeah, so I have to do that for myself, because I tend to belittle my success. I tend to belittle my
You too?
like just everything in my life sometimes, and don't give myself the credit that I feel like I deserve. Not to toot my own horn, but it's like
Toot the damn horn.
like I'm amongst really successful people, and so it's like sometimes you do compare yourself and you say, am I really, do I really belong in this group of people? And sometimes I feel like get off of it. Sometimes I feel like, I don't give myself enough credit. And so it's just like, and I am my worst critic, when it comes to a lot of things, and I have to talk more loving to myself on a daily basis. Like, I really need to work on that.
Yeah, it's so funny that you say that, because so everybody started off by talking about how they met you, and I realized that I didn't share how we met. So for every other phone who doesn't know, I was actually Ari's intern. That's how we met. We both went to Overcroft University. I responded to a posting for an internship with her, and I was like, okay, I need to do something else. I was like grinding like crazy at school, and I wanted a different type of internship. So that's how we met. And then Perception Inc. was already her company and all this stuff. And I was like, I can help you do this and change everything about the way that you do business and how you think. And like, I've often shared with her throughout the years how I'm so proud, because the Perception Inc. business, we didn't get that off the ground, but what she was able to do and what she's doing right now is so much more like powerful for her. And I'm super, super proud that she continued the entrepreneurship in that spirit. And so that's how, and we completely went into different spaces. So like communications and public relations is my major, but I actually study, and work in marketing and do all those things. So now we've reversed places, and she asked me sometimes for like advice. I'm like, do that, because I would never have been able to tell her any of those things 15 years ago, right? And so it's like funny that you talk about like questioning yourself and your success and whether you're okay, because I make great money now and all these things. So when she met me, I didn't make what I make now. And I still question, is it about the money? Is it about what I've accomplished? Like, where is my place? Where do I fit in? Always questioning that stuff too. But what I've learned about that is that as long as I'm breathing, I'm always going to be striving to be the best me that I can be. Right? Like, it's never going to end, even with my current situation. They could give me a promotion tomorrow and I still be looking at the next promotion or the next thing, growing myself. And I think that's what's most important for everyone to kind of take away, from these types of conversations. Like, where you are today certainly does not have to be where you're going to be in 5 years, 10 years, 20. It's really about the journey. Like, what do you want your journey to look like? Set that in motion. And as women, I definitely am a person who supports, any woman trying to do something. If I can help you, let me know. Let me know. That's my attitude about it.
Well, guys, does anybody else have anything to add to, all of that? If not, we're gonna call it a night. I did not suspect this conversation was gonna go on this long. I told Nicholas, I said 30 minutes. I'm tired.
Good conversation, though.
It
Conversation that we needed to have.
It is. I think, I would like to end it with saying that I'm glad that we are talking about the things that, ultimately, I feel more mature after having these conversations. I mean, you know me, I hate confrontation. I hate, uncomfortable, awkward situations. And to put everybody to put themselves out there, it's like, it's just a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing to be honest, to be real. And I love you guys.
Vulnerable.
Yes, vulnerability.
And I hope we can take away something from being a part of this conversation tonight, for sure. I hope we all walk away a little bit stronger, a little bit more with our head held high, that we are, really confronting some of the big issues in our lives, as well as, in society.
Yeah.
And what about being more open? Like, especially for me, I'm just going to speak for me, right? Because like what I took away from this conversation from all of you guys and all of your perspective is that I'm not open, maybe open enough. And so, especially with like forming relationships with and connections with white women, white people in general, like I want to do better about that. So thank you guys for allowing me a safe space to even talk about it and share it with you, and you guys receiving it, because I really appreciate that.
Ditto. Same to all of you. And what a great night. I appreciate your time.
Good. Thank you guys for coming. Thanks for having me.
Thank you guys.
Bye.
Good
Night.
Bye.
Oh, I do want to say before everybody goes, I am sorry that I wasn't able to talk a lot. Most of the time, my audio was cutting in and out, so I didn't actually hear a lot of what was said. But what I did hear was beautiful, and I'm so grateful to have been here for what I heard.
Watch back the YouTube clip when she posted.
Okay.
Right.
Night.
Good night, y'all.
Good night, y'all.